Hey, and welcome to Board of Life News for May 16th. Today I'm going to talk about the Spiel des Jahres nominees, Ticket to Ride New York, Narcos the board game, Asmodee being up for sale, and the Kickstarter for Lincoln. Let's get to it. The Spiel des Jahres nominations came out. The Spiel des Jahres is the German Board Game of the Year award that's generally given to kind of family weight or lighter games. It's pretty much the biggest award you can get in board gaming. There's a lot of others that are meaningful, but this is kind of it. There's three different categories. There's the Spiel, which as I said is the family weight, the Kenner Spiel, which is the connoisseur weight, which is supposed to be heavier games or, for more experienced gamers, and the Kinderspiel, which is kids games, like little kids games. So the Spiel, the three nominated games are Azul, Luxor, and The Mind. The Kenner Spiel, which is the connoisseur, is the nominees are. My voice is already like wavering because I know I'm gonna have to say the third one and it's not gonna go well. The three nominees are Ganz schon clever, Heaven to Nail, and Die Quacksalber von Quedlinburg. That just Quacksalber. That's a word. And then the Kinderspiel, which is the little kids games. The nominees are Imojito or Imojito, I don't know, Dragon's Breath, and Panic Mansion. So, huge stuff. It's interesting because a lot of these haven't made their way over to the States yet, so I don't have really any experience with about half of these. I will. BGG Spring is in a week or two. And one of the things they have at BGG Spring is the Spiel judges. People on the Spiel committee come down and teach you all of the different Spiel games and stuff, which is great. So I'm hopefully going to get a chance to play all of these, and I will have a video talking about my thoughts on each one of them after that convention in a couple weeks. But for now, I just kind of have a little bit of info on each one. I have an issue, I've talked about it in past years, the weight of the games in their rankings bothers me, because I think Spiel hit it on the head. If you look at BGG rankings in terms of weight, Azul is an 8.6, Luxor is a 2.0, The Mind is a 1.04. That's perfect. That seems like entry-level, light family weight. But then you look at the connoisseur games, which are supposed to be for more advanced gamers, and Heaven Nails a 3.14. That's fine. Ganz schon clever is a 1.75, which is lighter than both Azul and Luxor, which were nominated for the Spiel, and Die Quacksalber von Quedlinburg is a 2.0, which is the same as Luxor. I initially got kind of upset because I think it was Great Western Trail didn't get a nomination, and a lot of people were saying it was too heavy for that, but that's why they made the category. They made the category, I don't know, 5 or 8 years ago, something like that. More recently, because there were games that were a little bit heavier that weren't really eligible for the Spiel, but they wanted to give a light to. So I have no idea how they arbitrarily figure out weights of games, which of course these rankings on BGG are arbitrary. It's just people saying it. It's a little bit less arbitrary because it's a larger group of people, given it's people that all play board games enough to be on BGG. But it's a thing where a lot of times games that seem light enough for the Spiel get nominated for the Kenner, which means that heavier games don't have a place to get nominated. Anyways. Also, Wolfgang Warsch has 3 nominations with The Mind, Ganz schon clever, and Die Quacksalber. My dog is going crazy outside, sorry. Which he only had 2 prior published designs to this year, which is just insane. And then Michael Kiesling has 2 nominations as well, but Michael Kiesling is, I think, the most decorated. He's won the Spiel the most times, I believe, of anyone. So, interesting stuff there. Ticket to Ride New York is going to be a scaled-down version of Ticket to Ride. It looks like it is pretty much the same game, just much smaller. Instead of a map of an entire country, you only have a map of New York, or really New York City. It's going to play in about 10 to 15 minutes, which is interesting and very quick, and it's going to cost about $20. So seems like they just took Ticket to Ride and they're making it a smaller box, smaller price point, faster playtime, just to make it kind of more of touch that filler market, it seems. It's going to be a Target exclusive in the US, at least for a while. So that's exciting, I guess. I like that game a lot. I could see a scaled down version being fun. And I'm sure if this works, they're gonna make them for everywhere, because why wouldn't they? They already have Ticket to Rides for everywhere. looking at the board, it did like make me think, why isn't there a Ticket to Ride roll and write game with how popular roll and write has gotten, where everybody just has a different color wipe marker and you have a board, and when you do routes, you draw it with a marker. That seems like that will work real well. So Asmodee, give me a call. I will design that for you. We'll have fun. Narcos, the board game, is coming out from Simon Games. This is based off the Netflix TV series Narcos. It's for 2 to 5 players, and it's a one versus all game where one person is going to take on the role of El Patron, who is trying to build an empire of, drugs and, the things, but all while trying to keep themselves hidden. And then the other players take on the roles of people hunting them, like the DEA and other government agencies that are trying to find them. So you have to manage that. You have to remain secret while building a big empire, which obviously is going to bring more attention to you, that kind of thing. I don't watch the TV show Narcos, so I don't know. Simon makes good games, so I imagine this will be good. Yeah. This week, news came out that Asmodee is potentially up for sale. It was broken by Reuters, the news agency, where they were basically saying that I guess someone is interested in buying Asmodee, so they're trying to figure out a deal. I don't think it's like Asmodee went like, we're for sale, all offers being accepted. I think basically they're just in talks, so who knows what'll come of it. But they're up for sale for about $1.7 billion, which is pretty impressive considering in 2013, Eurazo, which is the company, the investment firm that bought, equity firm that bought Asmodee in 2013, they bought them for $143 million. So obviously that's more than 10 times their value in, like 4 or 5 years, which is very impressive. Obviously, once Eurazo bought Asmodee is when they started doing all the acquisitions, acquiring Catan, acquiring Z-Man, acquiring Fantasy Flight, all the big stuff. So adding value to the company, which is what equity firms do. Like, it's not, it's literally they buy companies, they make them more valuable, and then they sell them. So it's that thing where it's like it could be nothing, and it will probably, even if Asmodee gets purchased, it will probably kind of be business as usual. I doubt anybody's going to buy them and just like liquidate them and ruin that. Maybe somebody will make it better. So it's probably going to be pretty standard stuff going on. It could be very, very bad, where a firm, it's totally possible to buy them. And again, these are publicly traded firms, so they only care about their stockholders. So they could just liquidate it in order to make a quick buck and increase their earnings for a quarter. They could make it way better. A company like Disney could buy them, which I'm not saying that's a great thing in and of itself, but they have all the licenses that people freak out about anyways, so that could be good news. Who knows? For $1.7 billion, there's not a ton of people. I mean, I heard somebody saying maybe Games Workshop. I don't know that Games Workshop has $1.7 billion. It would be interesting, but it would probably be a company more akin to like Mattel or Hasbro or something like that. So I don't know. When it happens, if it happens, it will obviously be big news. It will make big changes in the board game world. Other companies are still going to be making games no matter what. So it just shows that people are taking note that board games are a good investment, I guess, and a valuable investment and worth a lot of money. With this information, they released that Asmodee had been making about $100 million in profit each year before taxes and all that kind of stuff. $100 million, or I'm sorry, 100 million euros, which is more. I'll take that. That sounds like good money to me. So I guess it's news. It's not good news or bad news. That's not what news is. It's news. Asmodee's up for sale, maybe. This week's Kickstarter is for Lincoln. This game is designed by Martin Wallace, and it is based on the American Civil War. It says it's a deck destruction game, where it's a 2-player game. Each player, you either take on the role of the Confederacy or the Union. You each have a deck that work differently, have different cards in them, and you each have kind of different objectives. And as you go through, you're going to be losing cards out of your deck. Each time the deck's cycled, the Union adds better cards, where the Confederacy adds weaker cards. So it's this like asymmetrical deck building, deck thinning game. It seems like it's got a board as well. it seems like it has a lot of similarities from Martin Wallace's other design, one of his other designs, A Few Acres of Snow, which for my money was one of the most interesting implementations of deck building in board games. So I'm very excited to see kind of that explored further here. And also, side note, A Few Acres of Snow is the best title of a board game ever, because, oh, what a good title. If that sounds interesting to you, it's $38 right now on Kickstarter. Alright, that's the news for this week. Thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe to this channel. Make sure you follow me on social media. I'm at Bryan Games on Instagram and Twitter. And make sure you check out my Patreon, linked below if you like what I do, because it helps me do it. This week's question comes from at Eclectic Lee, and they ask, as a designer, would you retheme Favelas given the feedback you've gotten since its release? So I'm going to do a dangerous thing, and I'm going to keep this brief, which is kind of, I think, the main mistake I made in the first place with Favelas. Favelas, for those that don't know, is a board game I designed, came out the end of last year. It's a light abstract strategy game, kind of a family weight game based around the favelas in Rio de Janeiro and in Brazil. So, in a word, yes, I would retheme it, given the feedback I've gotten since it came out. Again, I'm going to kind of touch on some stuff, but I don't want this to be a long thing. I don't want it to be too involved. I just kind of want to give a few of my thoughts because I wanted to respond to this question. Once I got it, I didn't want to ignore the question because I didn't want it to seem like I was ignoring it, and it's a very good question. So, yeah. So yes, I would retheme it because some people had a negative reaction to the theme because the favelas are a place in Brazil that often has high crime rates, has high drug trafficking. It has a lot of problems. It's it is poorer people live there. Our Western perception of it is that the favelas are a place, which isn't true. Over 10 million people live in favelas, and favelas are kind of a word for a type of place, kind of akin to like the street in America, not drawing direct comparisons, but the way the term, like, I'm from the street in America, it doesn't mean you're from a specific street. It means you're from a general type of life that happens in certain places in the country. The game is actually based off of an art project by called the Favelas Painting Project by Haas and Han, who are two artists that did community painting projects and are still doing community painting projects where they're using art for social change. They're involving communities, transforming, different neighborhoods where they're painting giant murals across multiple buildings and stuff like that for positive social change. They're involving community members, things like that. That's actually what I was theming the game after. However, I didn't write that anywhere. The game rules, say that you're painting projects, revitalizing neighborhoods, things like that, which can be certainly taken as gentrification, which has some negative aspects to it. So me failing to actually convey what I was thinking, what the theme was certainly a negative in that context, and could certainly be taken correctly in a direction that I didn't intend for it to be taken. Also, I think that the game itself isn't having that conversation. Like, in the mechanics of the game, it's not having a conversation about the positives and negatives or any of that, because it's an abstract game. So I probably shouldn't have chosen a theme that had could potentially have negative things attached to it, or that was about a place that some people have negative feelings about. I'm also a white person living in America, so I probably shouldn't have chosen a theme that didn't reflect my own personal experience. Because at the end of the day, I want people to have fun with the game. I want it to be a thing that brings people together. I want it to be light. So the fact that anyone doesn't have that experience with it sucks. And it bums me out because that's not my intent. So due to all of that, yeah, I probably would have changed it to something else. Some of my reasoning behind it, I wanted to have a unique theme. I wanted it to be, I didn't want it to be just another game. I wanted to explore different stuff. I thought that the painting projects were a positive, interesting thing, and it would be a fun thing to explore in games. And again, I didn't do a good job of actually showing that that's what I was trying to do. I also think that there's some issue with, in America, we see a lot of negatives about the favelas, and not saying that there aren't, there certainly are. But I get the comment that like favelas is literally slums, and it's like saying a literal translation is like, well, I mean, yeah, it means slums, but it doesn't mean what we mean with slums when we use it in the U.S. Again, it's kind of like the street, where yeah, that can certainly have a negative connotation, but there are people that take that as a point of pride. There's culture based around that. There are different things, and again, favelas are not a single neighborhood. So there's nuance there that I didn't explore, that a lot of people aren't aware of. And again, it's probably not my place to explore that. So I probably shouldn't have done that. But it was from a good place. The intent was good, and at the get-go of it. So yeah, it's a thing where I can, if I get to talking about this sincerely, I can go for a long, long time. Obviously, I've already gone longer than I wanted, and I wrote stuff down, but I didn't actually structure this response well. So I apologize for that. At the end of the day, I think I made some mistakes with it. I think, I don't know if it's a thing. I shouldn't have done it with this game. I think that you can do it. I think, for example, like Freedom, the Underground Railroad obviously deals with tough stuff, negative stuff, but the game itself explores it. I think the mechanics of the game itself in favelas do not explore what I was trying to explore. So, yeah, it's certainly easier and safer to not... It's tough, because it's easier and safer if I just made it like a generic theme or a sci-fi. And I'm not pretending like favelas is like the most unique theme ever. It's an abstract game. It could have been literally anything. So, yeah, it's just choosing when to have that conversations, if you want to have those conversations, and the experience people have with them. And I think I did a bad job kind of all around with that. It was from a good place. It was from what I felt was a positive place. But I didn't provide the context, and I probably chose the wrong medium in which to do that. So yeah, well, very long story short, I apologize. Yes, I would choose a different theme if I did it all over again today, knowing what I know now. So, thanks for the question. It's a good question. Sorry, I'm trying to give the information on it without going too deep, but giving enough information to still convey my thoughts, and it's just scattered, and I apologize. But yeah, good question. I'll see you next week.